And now it's time for another edition of a From the Vault review. This time around, we're looking at the 1995 hit classic film, Heat. Now, this is one you had actually suggested to me.
In our public shaming segment.
Yeah, so I thought about that, and I'm like, man, I gotta watch this. It was on Netflix, so why shouldn't I see it? A glowing review from you, and the fact that I'm sort of, I'm not really a Michael Mann expert at all. Mm-hmm. Or rather, I'm not really familiar with Michael Mann would be the better way to describe it. And I saw Collateral, I really liked this. And I saw this, and I thought it was also very excellent.
Oh, yeah.
So when was the last time you saw this?
I saw this probably last year. I showed it to Abby. She wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I understood why. She said it felt too much like a mini-series that wasn't.
Okay, so let's right off the bat get into that. Mm-hmm. So just in the opening, I would say like 10 minutes, when you're getting to know all your characters, there's a lot of them.
Oh, yes. Very many.
And you get the idea that this is sort of a large world, and it almost felt like a TV series. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the weird things I noticed about it. Despite its nearly 3-hour running time, mm-hmm. the thing that I noticed is this is totally watchable. It didn't feel like 3 hours. It just kind of felt like 3 or 4 episodes of a series.
See, that's what I thought too. It's very engrossing. The world is very fleshed out, and it feels real. There's like small kind of ancillary characters everywhere that people have to consult with, and every character has their own life. They have their own fucking set of problems they have to deal with. It's really, I thought it was really well done. Did you know that this is a remake by Mann of an unproduced television series that he'd worked on, the pilot of which was released actually as a TV movie called L.A. Takedown in 1989.
No way, really?
Yeah, and that was supposed to kick off like a mini-series type TV show, but it didn't go, so they just released it as a TV movie. And it's the same plot. It's about a cop named Vincent Hanna who is going after a professional robber with an Irish last name. It's not Neil Macaulay, but the guy's name is Patrick McLaren. Michael Rooker was in it. Michael Mann wrote and directed it. So this is something that's been in the oven for a long time for him. And I guess he just figured in 1995, you know what, fuck it, let's do it as a movie because that's the only format right now that matters. Interesting what if. What if this idea had come about now?
Would there be unnecessary filler to make sure it drags?
Probably.
Okay, so I don't know if well, who knows? Maybe
interesting to think about.
That is interesting to think about. I think maybe it was. Is it maybe that it was too ambitious to make a TV series?
Maybe.
Because back in the day, like back at that time, TV series were not like the budgets. I don't know if they'd be able to handle this.
No.
Especially not the star power. That's one thing right off the bat. This cast is insane.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And I know it's 95, and some of these people were, I guess, lesser known at the time, or maybe weren't as huge as they are now. But certainly Al Pacino was a big star at the time. Obviously, Robert De Niro has been a star for most of his career.
Dude, there's so many 90s people in this. You got freaking Al Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer, Ashley Judd, Tom Sizemore, Mykelti Williamson, Bubba himself, Ted Levine, Dennis Haysbert, William Fichtner, Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Which always kills me because it was like one of his first roles. His character's name is Trejo.
Really?
Yeah. You got a young Natalie Portman in this.
Yeah, she's like 13.
Yeah, and it's like, there's a lot of like really small.
This is weird as I'm like, that looks like her, but that doesn't sound like her.
Right.
Because what is she, 13, 14 maybe?
Right around there. I mean, 95.
Yeah, because that'd be not too soon after.
Yeah, 14.
Because Leon the Professional is when?
94, the year before.
Okay, so again, not too far from that.
No.
So right away I noticed the cast, which helps an awful lot.
Right.
With the cast that size, that's that good. This movie in a weird way reminded me of, it was like an Infinity War of crime movie people.
Yeah, man.
It's just such a large, expansive world. And it's interesting. I think you and I had talked about this earlier. It reminded me a whole hell of a lot of another movie I saw this year, Den of Thieves.
Yes.
There's a lot in common with it. There's the bad guy crew, the good guy crew. Like, there's two huge crews, or in each movie, respectively, a crack team of expert, career criminal, like bank robber type guys,
right,
and then some cops who
hard boiled. Sometimes they don't follow the law.
Yeah, they don't play by anyone else's rules, and if you don't like it, you can just move along. But on top of that, there's the cat and mouse thing.
Yeah, and
that's something I really enjoyed about this movie, like from the get go, is I'm a big fan of when the good guy and the bad guy meet face to face.
Oh, and this is like the epitome of that.
This is really probably one of the best examples. So I guess for those of you who haven't seen it, would you like to give them a brief synopsis?
I will give you the written synopsis because I'm lazy.
Okay.
So, Robert De Niro plays Neil McCulley, a professional thief, while Pacino plays Lieutenant Vincent Hanna, a LAPD robbery homicide detective tracking down McCulley's crew. The story is in part based on the former Chicago Police Department officer named Chuck Adamson and his pursuit of the 1960s criminal who also went by the name McCulley, after whom, of course, De Niro's character is based. As we mentioned, it's a remake of LA Takedown, but more importantly, it's a cat and mouse game. De Niro's crew is trying to set up a real big robbery, and Pacino's crew is trying to, first of all, identify who he is, De Niro is, and stop it. And
so it's relatively straightforward, but it's not.
No, there's a lot going on.
Well, I think one of the biggest themes in this movie is separating your career from your personal life. And in in a lot of instances in this movie, for De Niro, for Pacino's character, they really can't do that. And then there's like the sleazeballs, like what's his name, like Wayne something?
Wayne Grow?
Wayne Grow, like he's just like the biggest shitbag of them all.
Yeah, like a serial killer.
Yeah.
Like a fucking serial killer, basically.
So like even the criminals don't like him.
Yeah, no.
That's a guy who no one wants.
One of my favorite lines is when they're in the fucking diner, and then like when they're about to leave, and they're like, "We're gonna shoot," and like De Niro's like, "We're gonna shoot this motherfucker right here," and they drag him out in the parking lot to kill him.
Yeah,
and then the fucking cop car drives by, and you're like, "Oh."
See, that's what I liked.
Solved the whole movie.
That's what I liked about this movie, though, is like, it wasn't like a just flat out action movie. Because if it was like a B action movie, it would have just shot him in the parking lot.
Right.
Or like, when Pacino confronts him in the restaurant, there would have been a weird, like, crazy table flipping,
moment.
Like, moment, and like he would have like killed him or arrested him right then and there. And again, I can go either way on those.
Right.
But I'm starting to dig the Michael Mann style the more I watch his movies, you know?
I think this is the best of his... it's the mastery of, like, his work, in that it's, like, he's all about subtlety in terms of character. And it's, like, subtlety sometimes to a fault. I think there are certain characters in other movies where it's, like, I'm not really getting much from this guy, but I think it's, like, the front-loaded actors, you cast Pacino in a role, you cast De Niro in a role, you already come in with preconceived notions of who they are, so there's already built-in character work. But you throw stuff on top of that, like, the shit I liked was, like, the fact that they're, like, the best at what they both do. Like, Vincent Hanna is just, like, a super fucking smart cop. Like, that scene where he's breaking down the Brinks truck robbery.
Yeah.
And he's just, like, and the way that, like, fucking De Niro's, like, reading a book about metals. So, like, like about the burning temperature of, like, certain kinds of steel and shit. And it's just, like, these guys are the best at what they do to a fault. It's like they have no fucking life otherwise. Yeah,
and that's what I thought was, again, this ties into the whole duality of personal life and professional life. And in the instance, the part where he is reading the book at the diner and then he meets his, like, then to later be girlfriend, he's super sketched out by her because it's like he just doesn't...
The fuck do you want?
Yeah, like, obviously she wants to talk to you. Like, that's clearly what it is, you dumbass. But, like, because of his career, he has to be a little more on edge when someone's asking him why he's reading a book about metals.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, no, there's so many scenes like that where it's just clearly this guy, both of these guys are just like, they're so detached from things, from life, you know?
Well, especially with Al Pacino's character.
And his wife, or because it's his, like, new wife, right? Because Natalie Portman's not his kid.
Yeah.
It's, like, from a different marriage. But, yeah, no, like, the scenes where, like, you know, he's coming home late.
And she just sucks so much. Yeah. The Al Pacino's wife, she's so, like, oh, my God. Like, you know what you're getting into if you marry someone who has... That's the thing is, I sympathized with him, obviously, a lot more than I did with De Niro.
Yeah.
Because, like, I felt bad for the girl that De Niro was involved with. Mm-hmm. Because she was trying, you know, she went out on a limb to talk to him and, like, you know, sort of make the first move to, like, communicate to him.
Right.
And he's being an asshole to her. And then on top of that, she puts up with, like, his kind of crass demeanor. Mm-hmm. And then in the end, it's like, well, maybe I should have had better instincts.
Yeah, De Niro takes he makes the wrong decision.
Yeah.
He should have went to where was he trying to go, Fiji? Or something like that.
I don't know.
But no, he had to go and kill Waingro.
Yeah.
Spoilers would have it. But
well, I think we're pretty much going to be talking spoilers.
Yeah, no, this is a 20-something-year-old movie. 3-year-old movie? Jesus.
95.
Man, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot in this. And I was shocked, just thinking back on it now, a lot more set pieces in it than I remembered. And by that, I mean, like, I forgot about, like, you remember, like, what was it? The drive-in shooting? Like, there's an exchange at an abandoned drive-in movie theater.
Sort of. I mean, it's a long movie, man.
Right. Like, I forgot about that, and, like, I forgot about other scenes, like the stakeout gone wrong.
That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite. That's the subtlety. That's Michael Mann. Michael Mann shining through. Because yes, you can always kind of just let things lazily devolve into a large action shootout, and I like that. But it's like I like a little variety. I like some, you know. You don't always want things to be exactly the same.
Right.
I love that scene where it's like, especially, you know, my favorite lines were when he was saying the stuff about, like, no, we got it. We can't nail him now. Mm-hmm. It'll just be for trespassing. It'll be out in 6 months. It won't matter. It's
right.
Like, he's anticipating because he knows that this guy wants the bigger score. He's anticipating that score and he wants to nail him then. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's such an interesting concept. You know, it's like, bureaucracy at its finest in a weird way.
It is super. Their relationship is another thing that's like, in a way, it's the cornerstone of the movie. And they're not on screen all too often. I mean, they're only on screen in the diner scene and then at the very, very end.
Yeah.
And that relationship is like, especially at the end, you learn it's like, they're adversarial, of course, as it's laid out in the diner. It's like, you know, but they also have immense respect for each other. And that, like, they realize that they're each other's match. They're like, you're the best enemy I could have encountered in my endeavors as this archetypical figure, whether I'm a cop or a thief. Yeah. We're each other's match. So it's like they have this respect for each other.
Right.
So, like, in the end, like, you know, as he's, like, comforting De Niro as he's dying, it's like, oh, man. It's like, it's a weird bromance, but you know what? I'll take it.
Again, it's like crazy how alike Den of Thieves is.
Yeah.
Spoilers, the ending.
Similar?
Almost shot for shot the exact same, like, thing kind of happens.
I do like Heat. So if you make a movie that's basically Heat, I'm probably going to like it.
It's not as good.
Den of Thieves isn't as good?
No, nowhere close. It's like, well, the dialogue is pretty terrible in some scenes.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've heard people say the dialogue in Heat is like, it's super like coarse. You know, people, it's like always, it's like get to the point dialogue. It's not very romantic.
Who cares? But that's the way these characters are. And it's shown
some of the best lines in the fucking movie.
Yeah. Like the line, but you do not get to watch my fucking television set.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That shit cracked me up because I'm just like, that's such a Pacino line.
He kicks the TV out of the car.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I have very little wrong with this. I mean, it's long. That's my big issue.
I have no problem
but
with
it's
it
like,
being long.
It's not even, it's one of those movies where like you don't realize like it's a problem ever, really. I mean, it's not a problem. Like you don't realize the length until the movie's over and you're like, holy shit, it's dark out. Yeah. You're like, what the fuck? But that's not really a problem because then you cut the length, the story doesn't feel as epic as it is. No,
and I think part of that's because there's so many characters and they all, to your point, it feels, like a, what were you saying? It feels real almost.
Yeah, it feels like a real like crime underworld story,
Yes, the universe.
Yeah, the universe. Cinematic.
Yeah, the cinematic universe, as that is now becoming the
MCU, the cinematic universe.
In vogue phrase.
Yeah.
Well, no, but seriously, take Infinity War as another example. If you have that many characters and you really feel so strongly that they're part of the action, then of course you're going to have a 2-part movie. And in some ways, like you and I think we thought that maybe the first part should have been longer.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, in certain ways, it could have definitely benefited from being longer. Mm-hmm. And because there's all the guys like Wayne Grove, you got William Fichtner's character.
Mm-hmm. You got Dennis Haysbert.
Like,
you take out that element of the story, it's like you lose a whole important element about
the fucking driver.
Yeah, you lost the driver, and like you lose like thematically, it's like you lose like the harsh truth of this world, which is like everybody is fucking expendable. Like it doesn't matter.
Not only that, his arc is so heartbreaking.
It's so fucking sad.
Oh, it's the worst.
With his girlfriend.
Well, yeah, it's like he's trying to do right.
Yeah, he's ex-con.
And it's just like, of course he has to work in a shitty kitchen. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, even though you want to smack your boss, you can't.
You can't.
Because, especially he can't. Mm-hmm. Because he's on parole.
Right.
So it's like, even if he felt like he was justified, or even if some people could say he's justified, he's definitely being watched more. He's on thin ice.
Right.
So then when he does finally quit, you're like, no.
I know it's going to happen. And he doesn't even get a Boromir moment. Like, he just fucking eats shit. Like, he gets shot to shit. It's really sad.
That's it. So I guess
and his girlfriend finds out on TV that he gets killed. It's like, oh, fuck.
So now we'll talk about the best scene of the movie, the shootout.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
The one that took place in they literally shot it in L.A., downtown-ass L.A.
It's, there's not a lot of ways to describe it. It's like, there's an extra intensity to it
because it kind of happens what's the word? It's not prompted. Like you feel like it's going to happen, but the way it's staged cinematically, you're like, oh shit, the shootout's happening.
It just kind of erupts.
Right.
And it's kind of like ordered chaos because it's you can tell like the police involved. They're like, okay, stick to my training, but they're also like, fuck, where am I taking cover? Like like there's still, you can feel it in the air that like, this is not their usual routine.
This wasn't the plan.
Right. And it's also all of those plot points, all of the Hank Azarias and the Wayne Groves and all these little characters, it all leads to this. Mm-hmm. All roads lead to this moment.
Right.
So that's something I really admired about that. And that's something I think that Tarantino does really well. Is
culmination.
The culmination of action. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, as much as I love my shoot-'em-ups, like Commando, it's like they spend very little time. They're like, all right, here's John Matrix. Shit's gonna go down, and trust me, it's gonna be a fun time. Ladies and gents, you're not gonna regret watching this. But in a movie like this, where the world is a little more grounded, you have to have culmination to make the action scenes have more meaning and impact.
Right. Yeah. I definitely agree with you. It's well, there's other stuff too where you're like, I never knew, like every time I go in, I always forget about the Natalie Portman shit and like how that pays off, and you're like, oh fuck,
yeah.
Like, Jesus, and that's important too because you're like, fuck, maybe the home life is important, and like maybe we do got to reassess shit, and it acts as like that. Him and his wife come back together, and they're like, what do we do now? He's like, I'm gonna stay for a bit.
You know what the thing is though? The mom is such a shitty parent because she also could have helped prevent that.
Oh, God, it's so sad because she's like, what'd she say? Like, I gotta get the barrettes because Dad likes my barrettes, the whatever barrettes. It's just like
you can tell It's amazing how small of a character moment that is, and it's like, oh wow, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But you notice the little things.
No, it's so depressing.
like you notice that what's his name? I mean, this isn't a small thing because he kills a bunch of dudes at the beginning, but you notice that Wayne Grove, like, there's something extra wrong with him.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when he double crosses them, you're like, well,
obviously.
That such is like the nature of shitty people.
He joins the ranks of William Fichtner and Henry Rollins.
Yeah, Henry Rollins just sitting there in silence.
Fucking Al Pacino throws him through a sliding glass door.
It's so great.
The only thing I've ever wanted to see Henry Rollins do is get thrown through a sliding glass door by Al Pacino.
Why not?
Yeah.
But that was one of my favorite scenes, honestly, is when he's rushing out of the hospital. Like, I'm going to do this. By the way, I'm also going to take care of business.
Yeah. I'm going to do both. Fuck it.
That's what I mean. It's just like, one fell swoop.
Yeah.
I loved the way he's just like, fuck it. He's just so intense. He's so focused.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, that there's just certain defining traits that are different about a Michael Mann shootout or a Michael Mann action sequence.
Well, that's the thing, is there's no music either.
Yeah, and I mean, that helps a lot.
It's like, God, this feels like there's an actual fucking event happening, and it's just like a retelling of it, you know?
Right.
Oh, man, yeah, it's good shit, man. I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah, I am too, but... man, what the fuck was I going to say?
There's a lot to talk about.
That last scene. Let's talk about the last scene.
Oh, on the tarmac?
Yeah, then we'll wrap this up and we'll move on to our next short review.
This scene, of course, pays off the famous line, which is like, Al Pacino says, like, the next time I see you, I have to fucking kill you. I just want to let you know that. And, like, De Niro says something to the effect of, like, yeah, okay, well, let's see what happens. And, of course...
But that's the classic... It's the House of Mirrors and Enter the Dragon.
Right.
It's the fight on the cargo drop in... Air Force One.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, we're just going to shoot each other in some, street.
Right.
Which I'm not trying to knock the shootout. Mm-hmm. It's awesome, but it's like, we're going to make this as cinematic as possible. It's the final showdown.
Right.
The planes flying and then the
lights flashing.
It's those huge the guiding lights.
Yeah.
So then he weights it, he times it because it's like, he has to treat this like he's hunting, or it's like a sport. Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not just a job anymore.
Mm-hmm. This is like, this is
a competition.
Job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a competition at that point.
Oh man. And
when he finally takes that final shot, and I love it how he sees the shadow. Yeah. That's what tips him off. It's like, shit. Turns around, takes him out. That's the artistry of a good final showdown.
I mean,
I will say, if I have one tiny complaint, though.
They pull a bullet.
Because the shootout was so fucking good and so intense. Mm-hmm. And again, it was the perfect example of ordered chaos. Mm-hmm. Where you're like, I love the way they'd like kind of find cover.
Right.
And then they'd just be like, no, I'm just going to stand out here and shoot.
Yeah, and then like Tom Sizemore grabs the hostage, hostage, and you're like, oh, fuck.
But then he just shoots him. He's like, I'm not playing around. Just straight up shoots him, wastes no time.
So like, badass.
Which it's like, I love those moments because you're like, what if something went wrong? It's like, but it didn't. Mm-hmm. There's moments like that happen all the time in real life, but it didn't.
Right.
But it could have, but it didn't.
Took a risk.
Right. That's what I mean. It's like a situation like that. It's like it's already escalated so much further than they ever would have expected.
Right. Correct.
That's what made that scene what it is. It's like you said. It's the unexpectedness of how it escalates,
and it's super even more unexpected because you're like, holy shit! There's like 40 minutes of movie left.
Right. Exactly.
So I get what you mean in that it's like,
I almost wish you hadn't told me about that scene.
Oh, the shootout.
Like, that would have blown my mind.
It's legendary.
Right.
It's a good scene. And some would say that Michael Mann hasn't made as good of a movie since. I would say Collateral's close. Like, Collateral's pretty fucking good.
Collateral is pretty close.
But, so, yeah, this is pretty goddamn good.
What would you score it?
Oh, I mean, I throw a dime down on this. This is like one of my dad's favorite movies. It's a good dad movie.
Yeah.
And like my dad showed it to me like a while ago, and I was like, yeah, no, I'll agree with you here. This is pretty fucking good.
All right. Despite it pulling a bullet, because the ending is also excellent in its own different way. Mm-hmm. I'll also give it a 5 out of 5.
Oh, wow.
So that's a perfect 15 out of 15, ladies and gentlemen.